Hello, my Crystal Loves Texas family. How is everybody doing? You should be good because you had a holiday today, right? Most everybody had a holiday. Holiday?
Yes.
Yes. Holiday, Dr. Obi?
Yes.
I know you had a holiday and I know you, but you made the most of it because you're so efficient. You always are
Doing
making
something.
yes
Getting in trouble.
making sure that everything is going to flow smoothly when it's not the holiday.
Let's
And
go
that's-
with that.
Yes. Well, listen, I have to say this before we get started. Dr. Obi is also, in addition to being with the Houston Ebony Opera Guild, what we're going to talk about today. Dr. Obi is also with Texas Southern University over the Department of Liberal Arts.
College of Liberal Arts.
College
yes.
of Liberal Arts, and they host a fundraiser every year. Boots and Bling. I got my bracelet from Boots and Bling.
That's pretty.
I got on my Boots and Bling bracelet and my earrings, so I did that on purpose. Yes, but today we're here because it's that time of year again, Juneteenth, and it's not really just that time of year, but it's actually Juneteenth today.
Yes.
It is the actual holiday, and we are here because the Houston Ebony Opera Guild always hosts a very, very beautiful, elaborate, and important concert honoring that special time in Texas when all African Americans found out that they were free.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had the opportunity for 2 years to actually be a part of helping to promote that. And Dr. Obi, here we are again. And we've got 2 additional artists who are in here today. And you are going to kind of start us off and tell us about why you all choose Juneteenth. Why the Opera Guild chooses Juneteenth as a special day every year to really celebrate and honor what's going on in the Guild, as well as the importance of that day here in Texas.
Well, I always start any statement like this by commenting that being raised in Louisiana, I really did not know about Juneteenth until I moved to Texas.
Wow.
It was not a part of the school curriculum. It wasn't a part of the culture that I was raised in. But as I learned the history, I understand the importance of it. Can you imagine these people who were not only denied their freedom for the whole history of enslavement,
right,
but then had been denied 2 more years after others were free.
Right.
And as a classical music organization and the rich history of African American music, and also as a music organization that's rooted in the African American community.
Yes.
Obviously, Juneteenth, and in Texas, it is something that's extremely important for us to highlight.
Exactly. And this year, I love the theme of what is being done because it is so, you hear this all the time. You hear this said all the time. And usually it's just kind of cliche, but people say our freedom wasn't free.
Mm.
Why is that the theme this year?
Well, because I think we take an opportunity for a lot of holidays, whether it's the 4th of July even, or whatever it is, Christmas, we exchange gifts for our own pleasure. 4th of July, we eat and have barbecues, or when Juneteenth was made a holiday, we look for another opportunity just to take a day off.
Right.
And for me, I think it's an opportunity not only to celebrate freedom, but to take a moment to reflect and to honor those people who died, who suffered for generations, who gave their lives, and how the whole Civil War was something that which almost tore our country apart.
Absolutely.
Then further, with the current political environment, not to get too political, but we're at a time period now that these freedoms are at risk again. So we should take a moment not only to celebrate, but to also appreciate it, to honor, and to take a moment to reflect on the tremendous loss and sacrifice that our ancestors made so that we can indeed be free.
That's right. And, with that in mind, can you give us a little bit of the history of the Houston Ebony Opera Guild? Because from my own studies and based on what you and the other members have told me before,
Mm-hmm.
there are not very many African American opera guilds in the country.
Yeah. Well, there are a handful,
Yeah.
but you are right. There are not very many. And the history of this particular organization goes back to the 1980s. It was founded by a man named Robert Henry, who finished his career, which was an illustrious career, uh, teaching at Prairie View A&M University.
Mhm.
And he had such talented singers in his studio. And he himself was not a singer, but he was a pianist and a vocal coach and so forth. And he wanted to make an opportunity for these very talented singers because he felt at that time that there were not enough opportunities for young African American singers.
Right.
And so he started doing small concerts, which turned into more regular concerts. And then that era into the 90s, when Mary Guillory came on, the organization became incorporated and they started regularizing the season and so forth. And so we brings us to where we are now.
And Dr. Obi, you have been with the Opera Guild for how long?
Oh gosh, a long time. Since probably about 1997 or something like that. I came to Houston in 1996, and Clyde Jackson, who was very active in music in Houston for a very long time. He'd been a journalist and a writer and with a musician and so forth. Went to Tuskegee, had that illustrious background.
Right.
He actually came to my office soon after I came to Houston and talked to me about the Guild. And since then, I sang major roles, and we were doing full operas in the park. And then I was on an advisory board. Then I was singing with the Guild, and then
Wow.
I became program director, and finally was asked to be in the role that I am now, which is artistic director.
And it's interesting that you said the entire idea was born of a professor down at Prairie View who wanted to make sure that younger people had an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
With that in mind, I've got two young artists who are sitting here today who are actually featured in the Juneteenth concert.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to have them introduce themselves and tell me a little bit, respectively, about how you both got introduced to opera. And this part is going to be a little candid, but how your peers responded to you being opera lovers, because we know in this day and time, I can look at y'all are nice young folks, that opera is not necessarily the kind of thing that you see people embrace everywhere, and that needs to change. So first, to my, it always looks different on camera, but she is actually to my left. Okay, is Miss Brittany Taylor. Brittany, tell us a little bit about yourself. Are you a Houston native?
Yes, ma'am. I'm a Houston native, born and raised here. I am an active performer. I do a little bit of everything that relates to the fine arts.
Okay.
I actually found out about classical music going to the high school for the performing and visual
That's what I was going to ask you
And
next.
so- yes,
yes.
And I actually found out about Leontine Price there, and once I heard her, I fell in love.
Wow.
And so I just wanted to chase this dream of singing opera. And
So this isn't something that you have done since you were a little bitty girl. You have not studied opera just for years since you were small. You weren't raised as an opera performer.
no, ma'am.
Wow. And you picked up on it and you found the love for it, and it just kind of stayed. and
Yes,
stuck.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Now, let me ask you this. Going to the High School for Performing and Visual Arts,
Mhm.
is opera one of the genre that they put a lot of emphasis on? Or is it mostly theater? I know it's lots of theater. I've seen jazz ensembles come from HSPVA.
Mhm.
Tell me a little bit about that.
So we took the opportunity to learn classical music.
Okay.
And that was like the primary thing that we learned. And occasionally we'll throw in other genres.
Okay.
And Yeah, we learned how to sight read, how to pronounce the languages, how
Wow.
to perform. That's something that's very important. You have to know how to
Yes.
perform and express what you're singing. So,
Okay. Now I got to ask you this, and I know this is a question that I know people have, especially lay people like me. When you are performing and you are singing, an opera is performed in generally Italian, correct?
Italian,
And
German, French, a
okay.
lot of different
Do
languages.
you always know exactly what it is that you're singing? Can
You
you
have to.
understand the words?
You have to. You have to do some research.
I was gonna
Yes,
say,
ma'am.
it's about more than just pronouncing the words.
Yes,
You've
ma'am.
got to in order to bring it to life, you've got to have some sense of what you're singing,
Yes, ma'am.
right?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh my gosh! And how long have you been doing it now?
Since I was about 13 years old.
Wow, wow! So you really started at the beginning of high school
Yes, ma'am.
and all throughout high school. And how long have you been?
Dr. Obi recently just asked me to join
Wow.
the choir to sing in this performance.
Yes.
But I plan on doing some other stuff.
Okay.
With,
we putting a bug in your
Yeah,
ear.
like-
Okay.
Madonna, I know where to find her. So.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And Bernard Kelly, tell us a little bit about your background, where you're from, and how you fell into the genre of opera.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Houston as
Okay.
well, born and raised. I'm also a graduate of high school for performing and visual arts.
Did y'all know each other?
No, so
Okay,
time
okay,
in
it's a little
between.
habit. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
But I first came into the full knowledge of what opera was when I was maybe about 14 years old. I saw my first opera with Houston Grand Opera, and it was Hansel and Gretel,
Yes.
and it blew me away.
Wow.
And it just changed my life. And I decided that if I was going to sing anything, that
Yes.
would be something that I would love to do.
Okay, and I've got to ask you this because this begs an answer. As a young African American male
Yes.
growing up in Houston,
Yes.
I know opera wasn't something that all your peers were listening to.
No.
Okay, so when you found that you had this connection with opera, how did your peers take that, or did it give you another set of peers?
Well, both really.
Yeah.
With my peers that I had, prior to finding out about opera, it was a slow progression. It was just kind of spoon feed them and just sort of give them, just a little bit at a time, not too much as far as telling them what my interests were as far as musically.
Yes.
And then at the same time, developing and fostering these new relationships with my peers at my high school.
Yes.
Who were just really, really just as interested
supportive. You got to
as I was.
Yes, you've got a supportive audience there because when Julie was here the last time, one thing that she was telling us is that she sort of had to hide it because I think she went to school in Baytown, or something like that. And she said, I loved opera, but I had to pretend that it was just no big deal. And when I heard it, I would just not really react that much. But I genuinely loved it. So, at least you all had the type of environment at school where everybody around you was supportive of what you guys were doing as you were what they were doing because it's an art school.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, well, let me ask you guys this. And this is something that I talked to Dr. Obi about a little while ago. But one thing that I've noticed that the Houston Ebony Opera Guild always does, you are always highlighting the creation and art of African American composers. I didn't know that there was such a thing until I met Dr. Obi and the Guild of African American operatic composers. I didn't know, and not only Florence Price. Is that her name, Florence Price? That's going to be highlighted this time. But the last time there was a contemporary African American composer, and if I'm not mistaken, you said that was this someone who was a local?
Well, as a matter of fact, the arrangement of a spiritual that Bernard will be singing is written by a man named John Cornelius,
Mm-hmm.
and John is on the faculty at Prairie View currently. And so he's a contemporary of
Wow.
mine, and he has had a long relationship with the Opera Guild, which goes back to the days when he was a Rice graduate student
Okay.
and when Dr. Henry was still alive. So he and Dr. Henry actually worked together.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dr. Obi, why is that important? Why is it important that we showcase and highlight African American classical music composers? Why is that important?
Well, Black people are everything, right? So what I mean by that is there is no area of creative endeavor or athletics or academia where African Americans have not made a mark.
That's right.
And that is certainly the case also with classical music. We
Right.
call ourselves, because of Dr. Henry, he came up with the name of the Houston Ebony Opera Guild, but really our the genres that we work in are very diverse.
Yes.
They are classical in nature, but largely choral music, art song, oratorio. We have a little bit of everything, as well as opera in many of our concerts. The
Yes.
next program will be an all operatic content concert, but this concert will be largely choral because the choral music tradition is very important in the African American tradition as well. So,
Yes.
it is important to underscore that Black people we are everything, right?
Yes.
And so we want to be shown as all the things we are, including as classical music artists.
Absolutely. Tell me a little bit about Florence Price's Abraham Lincoln Walks at Midnight.
Well, this piece is a multi-movement work, kind of in the range of a cantata.
Okay.
It involves soloists, a quartet of soloists, as well as full chorus. And it was one of the pieces of hers that was first written for orchestra and organ. It has not really been performed very frequently. And in fact, in order to do this performance properly, we had to commission a score because the only thing that
Wow.
existed was a manuscript in her hand.
Wow.
So a scholar in Texas, not an African-American person, but a scholar of particularly Black artists, Black composers of the mid part of the century, like Florence Price,
Right.
put the score together for us, and we will be doing a landmark performance of this piece. So it will be a centerpiece. The text of the piece supposes that Abraham Lincoln cannot rest,
Right.
because that there's still unrest in the world in the wake of
Yes.
his death.
Yes.
So the idea is, who will bring peace so that he may rest upon his hill.
Wow.
So this program is put together in such a way that I wanted to look at the dream of freedom, what it took to get there,
Yes.
and then finally the fight for it, and then the celebration of it. So the program is put together that way. So I start with the Civil War and the loss of the war, and so forth. And then we go into the dream of it, and then we go for the fight of it.
So actually, the entire production is something that was created by the Guild.
Correct.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I thought maybe you all grabbed a piece and said this will be nice for the performance. So we'll just do
Let's
this.
be clear. Jason Obi did not write the
No.
piece.
but you all pulled everything together for it. That is absolutely amazing. Tell us a little bit about Florence Price and why you all chose her.
Well, you all is me in this case.
Mhm.
And Florence Price is one of those pioneering African-American composers, and a woman.
Right.
The first major person I should say, the first woman African-American to have a symphony performed by a major symphony. And she was worked a lot in Chicago, and has orchestral pieces, piano pieces, songs, everything. And I have to say that she is getting lately a lot of interest by major organizations again, because
Okay.
it was one of those careers that, she made a good career, but, was a name that was not really well known for a long period of time. And now she's coming back into the highlight again.
And what is the time period that Florence Price lived? Kind of give us
Let's see,
context.
I think she died, if I'm not mistaken, in the early 1970s.
Okay.
And
So turn of
I
the
need to
century.
check that. Yeah. But mid-century is when she was working in the early part of mid-century.
Okay. Now, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, Brittany. Um, do you prefer, just your own preference, do you prefer performing things from contemporary composers, or do you like much more of the classical, or sort of a combination of both?
I like a combination of both. I like researching the composer's thoughts and their ideas and kind of just making it my own. But I also like to perform contemporary things as well.
Okay. How about you, Bernard?
It's the same. It's a combination of both, but I will say, I think I feel the most at home
Uh huh.
in the classical
Wow.
space.
Yes.
Even though I do other things, for some reason it's just in me.
Yes.
I don't know why, but it is.
And I'm so glad that it is, and I'll tell you why. Because if it were not for you artists coming along, the frightening part, I'll be very honest with you, the frightening part is that we as an African American community begin to lose some of our history, and some of our diversity in the types of music that and spaces that people see us in.
Mhm.
And that's why I think it's so important for the guild to continue, and the guild to keep highlighting the different composers that are highlighted, because the fact that you all make sure to purposefully include modern day composers, as well as composers who are historical composers, is very, very important. Now, I think that there's something that really is important for us to establish, because a lot of people, especially who are not from Houston, don't realize this. The concert this year is going to take place at the historic Antioch Baptist Church. Why is Antioch so important in Houston, and why was Antioch chosen?
Well, first of all, we're very grateful to Antioch Church, and to have an ongoing relationship with that very historic church that goes back to Reconstruction, right?
Yes.
And even the building itself sits there among all of these modern skyscrapers, and
Yes.
it sits there comfortably. So we're grateful for that. And obviously, because of the history of that church and its connection to the Reconstruction era, it's a perfect venue for a
Right.
Juneteenth concert.
And this is something, because I'm a teacher,
Mhm.
and we've discussed this before, Dr. Obi, when you've come here, that so many of our students, I know the students that I teach middle school students, they have no touch point as to anything we're talking about here. If you ask them what opera was, they cannot even begin to pretend. They want to try and guess and to know what it is. I want all of you to touch on this a little bit, because I know your perspectives will be a little bit different. What can we, as a community, as teachers, do to ensure that the generations coming along have this in their midst, to appreciate and to possibly cleave to, as something that is a rich part of our history? So I'll start with you, Bernard.
I,
How
I
can we keep it?
I think it's just about exposure, and a consistent exposure. I
Yeah.
think sometimes that's far and few between in
Very.
our community, and that's probably why we don't know. Perhaps doing some things. I remember doing something a while back. It wasn't in the classical space, but
Uh-huh.
where it was a group of singers, and we would go to different elementary schools and
Yes.
just kind of give demonstrations of what we were doing as far as singing. And
Right.
so me personally, I would love to see that in the classical
Yes.
space, with schools, and just with
Yes.
African American, predominantly African American schools, so that they would
Absolutely.
just know about it. Because sometimes when they find out you sing this type of music, we do get those looks, and it's just very foreign sometimes.
And especially with the age group that I teach, I remember when Patricia Gregory was here the last time, she said that prior to this year, many times members of the guild would go out to different schools where they were invited, and at lunchtime they would have some of the performers go and give kids a mini concert. And at 12, 11 to the 14 years old, it's just it's a, I'm not going to say it's no appreciation of it, but it's not cool to appreciate it. So they may have gotten a lot of laughs, a lot of chuckles. They may have behaved well because you have the administrators that are standing there. But she said this. She said, with each one of those, I think there were 3 lunch periods. Each one of those lunch periods, after it was over and the kids were processing out, that they always had maybe 2 or 3 kids stop back and start asking questions about it. And that's the point. You may not have the masses, but those 2 or 3 are the ones that you want, because they're not going to be embarrassed to come up and say, oh, I'm interested. How can I get involved in something like this?
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. So give me your take on that, Miss Brittany. How are we gonna, especially with young African American women, and all they want to sing is Beyonce. Love you, Beyonce. But how can we make sure that classical performance is preserved for generations?
I think Bernard pretty much explained it very well.
Okay.
But kind of sort of like piggyback off of what he said. I think
I'm gonna put you a little closer to this mic.
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I think that representation matters. It's important to see people that look like you doing everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think if we can get more people out singing classical music, kind of curating spirituals and keeping them alive, that more people will be interested in them. Because to me, it seems that spirituals are kind of like dying out slowly, but we want to bring life to them. So if we can just bring them back and spread them out, just like we blast other artists, then we can blast classical music too.
Yes. I can't wait for the day that I'm at the stoplight and somebody pulls up beside me and it's some classical, I'm going, turn that down.
By the way, I've done that. So.
Me too.
Yes. And at least you get their attention. Yes. But Dr. Obi, I'm going to pose that question to you. What do we need to do in order to keep classical music in people's face?
I think the churches are a part of the answer. If we go back even 25 years, I'll go back to when I was a teenager, to the late 70s, early 80s. Excuse me. I was first exposed to classical music in the AME church.
Okay.
And that followed up because I went also to a magnet school that was focused on the arts as well, like these two did.
Right.
And, I always tell the story that I did not want to go into higher math after I'd finished all my required credits. So I started taking music classes before I graduated because I didn't want to take calculus.
I get it.
Anyway, but in my church, the Bethel AME Church in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, there was an elderly black man who sang in the choir, and he told me that he'd sung with the Negro Opera Company of Detroit.
Right.
And he sat next to me in the tenor section because they let me graduate from the youth choir to the grown people's choir because I was a tenor. And I just remember him being a very elegant man, Mr. B.J. Wales. I call his memory out as one of my ancestors today. Mm-hmm. And he would tell me about vocal technique and tell me, I remember he saying something like, think of your voice as your body as a piano and the vocal cords are the key, something about my posture and so forth.
Okay.
And about his experiences. And he and his wife were very lovely people. They lived in the neighborhood of the church. They would invite me to their home for lunch after church. And that was my first exposure to someone who, to use your terminology, who looked like me, who was very interested in this genre of music, and took the time to mentor and to help me and to give me attention and encouragement for what I had. And also in high school, I excelled in choir and in foreign languages, so they sent me out to do competitions and
Yes.
things like that. So I went to college on a music scholarship, although I was an art major. I was a painting major. And but I think that nowadays, particularly, I'm saying the Black church, but really it's the same with other churches. You don't find churches as frequently as we used to that have robust classical music programs.
You're absolutely right.
It's a lot of praise and worship and things of that nature.
Yes.
Nothing wrong with that. Even, and I tempted to call out some names, some of the largest Black churches now, they used to do important anthems and things like that, as well as gospel music. Nothing wrong with gospel music. I love gospel music. But it's not a diverse program of repertoire that they do.
Yes.
And so I think what's being lost in that is, I won't even say classical music, structured music is being lost.
Right.
Certainly it's not giving the play that it was given.
Absolutely.
And that was a part of our education and our training.
Absolutely.
And our start as classical musicians that have an opportunity at least to perform in church. But that is not so much these days.
Okay, I am really going to be the layperson here, because the layperson that I am, I'm going to have you make a differentiation for me. So what we're going to be seeing in this performance for Juneteenth is a cantata. Explain to me what that is.
A cantata.
I've heard of the word. I would love to pretend that I knew what it meant, but I'm a layperson. So explain to me what that is in comparison to maybe what we've seen the Opera Guild do in some of the performances before.
Well, the only thing is that a cantata is a group of songs, pieces that are put together with a narrative that goes throughout. Right?
Okay.
So oftentimes they're sacred. They can also be secular. This would be a secular cantata. Secular, being worldly, as we would say.
Okay.
And they are put together in a long form, but a number of short pieces, often involving both soloists and full chorus.
Okay.
So that's the best I can do on without having prepared my lesson ahead of time.
Okay. Well, one thing that we have, we're going to, in just a minute, we're going to have a couple of other guests that come up and who are going to be talking to us about kind of the nuts and bolts of the Guild and the importance of the work the Guild does here in Houston, and about how the community can support the Guild.
Good.
And
we need that.
Yes. And specifics on what time, what are the costs involved in this performance, what can people expect, and that type of thing. But before we do that, I got to ask you this. And I always go back to this because I'm a teacher. In our area right now, in Houston, many elective classes are being taken out of public schools. Music being one of the first that's cut. Okay. It's definitely being cut on the elementary level. It's being cut on the middle school level. And it will only be in place in certain high schools, maybe high schools that are magnet high schools. So we are seeing a lot of music teachers, chorus teachers, band teachers lose their jobs. That's just the fact. Many reasons have been given as to why that's the case. However, with that being taken out of public education, any suggestions on what we as community can do to ensure that music is not one of those kind of things that goes the way of the dinosaur when it's such an important part of our being, especially in the African American community? What can we do to preserve music for our generations?
Well, first of all, I would caution those politicians who are active in doing that kind of thing that music joins the other academic areas as a very important part of brain development.
Right.
And the research very much shows that people who study music from an early age are able to reason better, and they think better. It affects the way the brain works. So it matters not whether or not one becomes a musician. The study of music at an early age and throughout education forms the way we think in a more positive way. It affects people's intelligence. And so I think it's extremely important from that point of view. As a community, period. I wouldn't say
Yes.
necessarily even African American community.
Yes.
It's very important to rally your legislators that they do the right thing in terms of supporting these programs, and that they vote according to what they want to see. It's very important that we have a well-educated populace, and whether or not a person becomes a musician is not the important thing. But
Right.
the study of music is just like athletics, just like any other thing. Music is extremely important for the education and development of the human being.
And here's the thing. But let's just be clear, and I'm sure that that all the guests here today would in some way probably echo this. If it were not for music, that has been the ticket for many people to go on to get a higher education
Mm-hmm.
and to be able to start careers.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's shut out at the elementary level, what message are we sending?
I agree. And musicians are self-starters. They are people who follow through. I remember as a high school person, I was working and somebody told me, I'd like to hire musicians, they said, because I don't have to keep following up with them. They take on projects and they see them through without
Right.
a lot of follow-up and having me to be on their backs to do certain things. And I've noticed that that's the truth. That's
Yes.
the case.
Yes. Well, Dr. Obi and Brittany and Bernard, Dr. Obi knew I was going to do this, but we are going to get and our viewers always ask for this. I'm not just putting y'all on the spot to put you on the spot. I promise. Our viewers always ask for a little bit of a taste of what we may see on Sunday the 23rd at the concert. Do I have any volunteers? I may have more than one volunteer. Can we get a little taste?
Make them voluntold.
Yes. Brittany, are you gonna give us a little taste?
Yes, ma'am.
And Bernard, when she finishes, you'll give us a little taste.
Sure,
We
sure.
never had two. We never had two before. That's perfect. So, without any further ado, we're going to have Miss Brittany Taylor, who is she a soloist?
Yes.
A
she's a
soloist with the Houston Ebony Opera Guild. Give us a little bit of a taste of what we can expect in this year's Juneteenth concert. Miss Brittany Taylor.
Okay. Here I sat on buttermilk hill. Who could blame me? Cry my field, and every something song. Johnny has gone for a soldier. That's all I got.
Yay! That was wonderful. That was wonderful. Awesome, awesome. And Bernard, how are you gonna follow that up?
Okay. Let's see. He delivered Daniel from the lion's den, Jonah from the belly of the whale, and the Hebrew boys from the fiery furnace. Then why not every man? Did my Lord deliver Daniel? Deliver Daniel, deliver Daniel. Did my Lord deliver Daniel? Then why not to every man?
Wow. That was just a taste. So you guys can only imagine what we're gonna. Dr. Obi, you wanna
No,
finish that?
I do not.
I knew he was gonna say that. But that was awesome. Bernard Kelly, Brittany Taylor, Dr. Jason Obi, you're gonna stay with us. But what we're gonna do now, we're gonna have a quick change, and just like magic, you're going to be able to see a couple of other people from the Houston Ebony Opera Guild. Is it auxiliary?
The Houston Ebony Music Society, which
Music
is the parent
Society.
body of the Houston Ebony Opera Guild.
They're going to come on and they're going to tell us about the nuts and bolts of what keeps the guild going. And you're going to see that in just a few minutes. So we'll see you in a few. Hey, Facebook family, join me tonight as I welcome Dr. Jason Obi and the Houston Ebony Opera Guild to my Crystal Loves Texas podcast.
Dr. Obi and his Opera Guild colleagues will share how this one-of-a-kind organization has been bringing the exciting genre of operatic performance and other popular music styles to the Houston community since 1992. If you're a patron of the arts in Houston, you won't want to miss this episode tonight at 6:30 p.m. right here on Facebook Live.
And we are back. Magic set change. We are back. And can you introduce yourself, please, Miss Connie Howard?
Hello, I'm Connie Howard.
And tell us, Dr. Obi just gave us the long name of it again. I can't remember it, but tell me again exactly. Miss Connie, you represent the
Well, interesting enough, I can represent the Houston Ebony Music Society.
Yes.
That is the board, the parent company.
Absolutely.
But I'm also a member of another organization. It's the auxiliary. It is called the Friends of Houston Ebony Opera Guild.
Because we know that the Houston Ebony Opera Guild does not operate in a vacuum. It's not like poof. A lot of moving pieces have got to come together to put on the performances that you all put on throughout the year.
Correct.
And it takes money. It takes a lot of volunteers.
Yes.
It takes a lot of time. Tell me a little bit about some of the pieces that have to come together in order for a performance like this to happen. Who finds the location?
Well, we don't have a set committee,
Yes.
but we do have volunteers and we have members of the board.
Yes.
And we reach out to our partners, those
Yes.
that we've had relationships with in the past.
Right.
And we reach out for new partners.
Yes.
We try to have it would be great if we could have a 2-year calendar.
Okay.
I'll take one.
Yes.
But because we know we have a calendar for at least 12 months, maybe we have fall, we have the Christmas concert in
Yes.
the winter. And of course, I call it our showcase is our gala in February.
Okay.
Okay, that is kind of our signature event.
Yes.
And then we have a showcase for our opera gems. So that comes
was
in the
for
fall.
Miss Connie?
Yes.
Wow, that's a
yes.
lot of
So
performances.
it is a full calendar.
Yes.
It would be great if we could have those partnerships in advance.
Yes.
So we can now not focus on trying to find a location.
Exactly. Well, kind of give me an idea if someone happens to be watching and they like what they've seen so far, they like what they've heard so far, they like the history of the guild, and they are interested in becoming a partner. What are some of the things that are required to be to partner?
It helps if you love what we do.
Yes.
If you want to support our mission,
Yes.
it also helps. It helps if you understand what our mission is really about and want to be a part of it,
Yes.
to come on board.
Yes.
Because the volunteers, we are a fully voluntary organization.
That's amazing.
Yes. And just be encouraging about what we do, to just show up for us.
Do
when
you
we're
have to
there.
have a background in opera or performance, or can you just love what you hear and see?
Again, you just have to love what we do and want to support our mission.
Yeah.
So as these young people have talked about, and Dr. Obi talked about, it is all about representation.
Yes.
You understand exactly where we are in that genre of music. There's the opera component to that, right? That's the spiritual and the choral aspect
Yes.
to that. So you have many opportunities to love what we do.
Yes.
Pick one, support us in that. So no, you don't need a musical background, but it could help. This is about running a business. We
Exactly.
are a 501c3.
Okay.
Okay. Understanding that, we have to have great leadership.
That's right.
So I say the volunteers are just our strength. They
Exactly.
are our superpower.
Right.
And we need those. We need them to be change makers,
Yes.
to want to step up to the plate,
Yes.
to want to hit a home run for these young people that we want to mentor and nourish. That's what
Yes.
it takes. It takes a commitment to just want to be a part of something
Yes.
that is so special. you may not know this, but the Ebony Opera Guild is in its 40th years of existence.
That I did not know
It
that.
will be 40 years,
Wow.
December. The first
This is an anniversary
concert,
year?
this is an anniversary
Wow.
year, 40
Okay.
years. The first concert was December of 1984.
Ooh. I
So-
remember that well. That's
so
making
we just need people who want to help us continue.
Okay. Well, Miss Connie, I'm going to ask you this because
Okay.
you know you're so gracious, but I'm going to cut to the chase.
Mm.
It takes a lot of money to be able to put on these productions in the manner that you do. People have got to travel. People have got to rehearse. There have got to be rehearsal spaces. People need guests. If you all are bringing in certain guests, people have got to be in some way, even on a small level, compensated for what they're doing. It takes a lot of money to put these on.
It does.
Yes. So when we're looking out to the community needs to know that they need to step up and help keep the Ebony Opera Guild alive. Do you all have I know you have a yearly fundraising gala,
Yes.
but do you all have other fundraising opportunities throughout the year? Are there silent auctions? Can people just donate? How can people become financially and fiscally supportive to the guild to make sure that this continues?
We've had all of those things in the past,
Mhm.
and we can continue to have those things.
Yes.
The one thing that we need right now
Mm-hmm.
is to expand.
Okay.
So we need to bring on more members.
Okay.
And one way to do that is to just reach out to us.
Right.
There is a phone number that you can call,
And that is
832-377-7751.
okay.
It's not a man phone. Leave us a message.
Okay.
We will get back in touch
That's
with you.
I'm glad that you said that, because if people call sometimes and they get an answering, a service, sometimes they're discouraged, but they know that they may get a message and that someone will return the call. Yes.
You can email us.
Okay.
That is ebonymusic92@gmail.com.
Okay.
Email us with your questions. Email us with any opportunities that you think you might have. Run them by us.
Okay.
Like if you think you have a building or rehearsal space. If you
Yes.
think you would like to help us with in-kind donations from an opportunity like that we could use your space,
Okay.
we would say yes to that.
Okay.
Like us on Facebook. We do have a Facebook page. Connect with us there. Write us. We have a P.O. box
Okay.
that is 300-996 in Houston. Zip code is 77230.
And we will make sure all of these numbers and the email addresses that we post those in the comments so that you can connect. We will also have the flyers in the comments also so that you can connect. I just wanted to make sure that people know that. And Miss Connie, they've got the emails and the ways that they can, those in-kind donations. Now, let me ask you this. I know that you all have partnerships with certain churches throughout Houston, and many times your concerts take place at these churches. But you know what? There are lots of big, nice churches and places of worship, not necessarily churches, but just places of worship around Houston that would be wonderful to be able to have the Opera Guild to be able to visit and have a concert. Are they encouraged to reach out too?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes. Anyone who wants to connect with us to help further our mission,
Yes.
feel free to reach out to us. We have a website. Go there, see what our mission, what our vision, and our purpose is all about. And if this is something that you can get on board with,
Yes.
join us. We truly love to have you be a part of our organization.
Yes.
So both of the organizations or expanding their membership,
Okay.
the Friends of Houston Ebony Opera Guild would love to have you. We give you a couple of opportunities to participate with us. You can
Okay.
be an associate member,
Okay.
or you can be a full-fledged member.
Okay.
The difference is the donation that you make.
Okay.
So
Tell
it
us
gives
about
you-
the difference.
Well, it's like $125 to be a full member and $75 to let you try us.
That's nothing, Miss
It is
Connie.
absolutely nothing.
That's nothing.
It is absolutely nothing. But there's hard work on this side.
Yes.
Because we put on the gala,
Okay.
and that is a tremendous undertaking. But these ladies, my friends,
Yes.
they are wonderful. They have been doing this for such a long time. In fact, it was some ladies that have passed on
Yes.
that I saw when my husband was performing
Yes.
that made me want to be a member of the Friends.
Absolutely.
It took a while for me to become one,
Yes.
but I think I've been over there now close to 10 years.
That's a while. That's a while. That's great.
It is. But I support my husband in these efforts, and where he goes, he drags me along, and I'm happy to be there. But they have always been encouraging and full of leadership. But we just need more. We're aging out. We love to have some young talent. We need someone to manage our web page. We need someone to write content for us. We need
Yes.
to step into a new era.
And you know what, Miss Connie, this just ran across, I don't know why, it just ran across my mind, but we have got so many super active fraternities and sororities here in Houston that are always looking for different types of opportunities to get involved. And these are already organizations that are extremely, they're organized. They've got, they know how to set things up. And I'll tell you, if anyone who is with any of the sororities or fraternities, if you're looking for an opportunity to really get involved and you've got a passion for music,
Yes.
this is something that really is going to have an impact. It's going to have an impact and a lasting impact.
Absolutely. So Divine Nine, step it up.
Yes, absolutely. That's right. And you said one thing you said is that the ladies who do this, but gentlemen also are encouraged to be a part of the.
Absolutely.
Can gentlemen be a part of the guild?
They
Okay.
can. They really can. But
Okay.
the history tells me that there aren't many who come and stay.
Okay, and that's
I
okay.
do believe when it was first organized,
Uh-huh.
and Mary Guillory put this together, that it was really a ladies' auxiliary.
Okay, got you. Okay,
But I know there have been men to come.
right.
They just didn't stay very
And they're
long.
not discouraged. They're not
No.
discouraged. Okay.
No.
Okay. Now,
If you have a knack for bringing in funds,
yes.
please join us. We need that.
Absolutely, and we will make sure that we do everything we can here to spread the word too,
Thank you.
because we've got people out there who are sitting in the right space to be able to make a difference. Now, Dr. Obi, I'm going to turn and ask you this, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm going to kind of put you on the spot. Someone asked me at school yesterday when they knew that I was going to be doing this, do you all have a boot camp for kids that the members give in the summer that they can pay to come to? And if they're interested in opera, they don't teach that in a lot of schools, but if they're interested in possibly trying out for the guild,
Yeah.
do y'all do that?
No, we don't. Unfortunately, I think that's a good idea to explore. We've talked about doing high school boot camps and different things like that over the years, but even that takes money. And as Connie mentioned, it's almost completely, at least on the side that she is on, a volunteer situation.
Okay.
So certain staff members like myself are paid for artistic direction, things like that, and preparing the concerts and so forth, and the musicians that are come, even the chorus, not for the Juneteenth concert. So, but if we had something like that, it would take some dedicated funds to do.
Yes.
But I think it's an excellent idea, and maybe there's someone who's listening in the audience who'd like to support something like that. I think it'd be a great idea.
And that's why we wanted to put that out there, because as this goes on and is shared, if someone is interested in that kind of thing, certainly they can reach out to you.
I do want to correct something that I said earlier. I had Margaret Bonds in my mind, but you asked me about Florence Price. Florence Price was born in the late 1800s and died in 1953.
Okay.
So I just wanted to correct that so that I'm not spreading bad information.
No problem. No. So, Dr. Obi, Ms. Connie, give us some details about this coming Sunday. What time is that concert starting?
4:00.
And how much are the tickets?
It is free.
It is free.
Skirt. Wait a minute.
Bring your checkbook anyway, because we're going to ask for donations.
Yes. This one is free.
This one is free. This is our gift to the Houston community. Yeah.
This concert is free. So if you even think that you may like opera, like our producer Kenji said when you all walked in today, because Dr. Obi and his team, they have been on several times, and you encourage somebody to go and to the opera. And when they walked in today, he said, Hey, Dr. Obi, I went to the opera. What was the name of that opera they went to?
Falstaff.
Okay. Yeah. So someone who may not have even gone to the opera, they were introduced by you all and they went to the opera. So
that's fantastic.
Yes, that is an important thing. Antioch Baptist Church, what time?
4 p.m.
4 p.m. Antioch Baptist Church. Probably they need to get there early.
Yes.
To make sure that, because Antioch Baptist Church, the seating, it's a quaint church. Right. So you want to make sure that you're not standing.
Right. And let me also add to that people are sometimes intimidated by parking downtown.
Yeah.
Antioch does provide parking in the garage that's just adjacent to it, and they will validate the parking.
Okay. Okay. And that's right across the street.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Antioch Baptist Church, June the 23rd, Sunday, 4 p.m.
Correct.
Get there a little early. Is there an opportunity, possibly, if someone is bringing people who are fans of the Guild, to maybe take photographs with the artists?
I think so. We can
probably,
we can do that.
There
just grab them and say, take a picture.
Yes. Absolutely. And guys, listen, I want to say this. I want to, first of all, thank Dr. Jason Obi and the Houston Ebony Opera Guild and the Houston Ebony Music Society. Mm-hmm. I almost got it right. I was one word shy. I almost got it right. But it's coming. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Hymns. Yes. Hymns. I love it.
Not hers. Hymns.
But I want to thank you guys so much for coming out. We always want to make sure that we put the word out there for the community to know what's available out there. And there should be no one sitting around saying this summer, well, I wanted to try to get my kids, to be able to experience something new. And here it is. Here it is. Let's look at a couple of these comments we have. Miss Janet Williams says, field trips to symphony, operas, and ballet. We're going to have to, Miss Janet, that may be the kind of thing that has to happen now through the churches, because it probably won't happen through the schools,
Right.
So those kind of things may have to happen through the churches. And here's something too. If we know in time enough, and we'll try to make sure that for the next Ebony Opera Guild performance, we put this out there. So if music clubs, where music is introduced now, is in clubs in schools instead of a class. Mm-hmm. So if they want to schedule a field trip, and that can possibly be done. Youth ministry in churches add to their programs. That's a way to introduce opera. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Miss Janet. We will make sure we get those telephone numbers in there that Miss Howard was able to provide for us, and the email addresses, and the flyer for this weekend. Dr. Obi, one last word about what we can expect this weekend at the Juneteenth concert.
Just to kind of reiterate what I said at the beginning, I think it will be a very interesting program that will not only, as I say, celebrate Juneteenth, but also give us an opportunity to revere and to honor our ancestors who sacrificed so much for our freedom. And I think that's extremely important. And it will be a beautiful concert. You'll have a lot of talent. not only our stalwart singers, but also some young people like you heard today.
Yes.
And
yes.
that's also a part of continuing this legacy, because as Connie said, some of us, if we haven't aged out yet, we may be aging out pretty soon. So we've got to kind of pass this legacy on to some other people.
Absolutely. And that's what it's all about. It's about sharing to make sure that none of our history is ever forgotten.
Absolutely.
And Dr. Obi, Ms. Connie Howard, Brittany Taylor, Bernard Kelly, I want to thank you guys so much for being here. And as we say every week, we can do it. See you later.